Good morning, everyone. Hope everybody's well. My name is Fabio Caldas. I'll introduce myself in some moments. We will start the webinar in some 2 minutes. We decided to delay a little bit, not so British today, but British-Brazilian, let's say so, or Brazilian-British. Let's wait for 2 or 3 minutes, then we'll enjoy the knowledge all around this table here, which is not small. See you in 1-2 minutes, okay? Meanwhile, we'll just look at each other's face. Okay, just a little bit more, some 30 seconds, and then we will start. Okay, I think we can start. Good morning, everyone, again. Many thanks for your presence in the webinar on opportunities and challenges for the development of the hydrogen business chain in Brazil and how the UK can contribute it on this Wednesday. It will last up to 11:15. It's really, for me, I enjoy very much these webinars, and I hope that you will enjoy too. My name is Fabio Caldas. I'm president of Britcham Rio de Janeiro, and also president of the Power Renewables Committee. I'm also the founding partner of LS Lightsaber Management Consultancy. Yes, Lightsaber is the Jedi one. It is focused on non-technical risks, reputation, and corporate affairs. I'm going to speak a little bit about Britcham's mission statements to be the reference of the UK-Brazil business community, providing a forum to foster bilateral trade, investment, services, and relationships. Look, all these beautiful words, but the summary is, if you want to do business on anything related to the interface Brazil and UK, also always get in touch with Britcham. We have offices in Rio, in São Paulo, Paraná State, Minas Gerais, and the membership, is very high level network. You enjoy and we will enjoy and take advantage of very high decision-making executives in Brazil, in the UK, very good networking in the chamber. We have a number of committees and discussion groups covering practically all key business sectors in Brazil. We are experiencing tremendous growth in senior membership in the last years, which is a very good sign of good value-added delivery. This I like to highlight. Much of it is due to the very close and much appreciated indeed partnership with the UK government. We have several fronts and opportunities. Please, to learn more about each, visit the Chamber's website at www.britcham.com.br. And now the thanks to Mr. Bruno Marcondes for the support in leading Britcham's in Rio de Janeiro, the Vice President of Rio de Janeiro branch. Also, Mr. Renato Cordeiro is Vice President of the Power Renewables Committee. Mr. Carlos Peixoto is a dearest friend, Carlos Peixoto, who was very instrumental in organizing the seminar. Mr. Vlamir Martins, they are the President and Vice President, respectively, of the Oil and Gas Committee, heavily involved in the organization of this webinar, as I said. Much dedicated, very high vibe. The warrior Britcham staff, the Britcham team, Fabrício, Clara, Mayra, and Leticia, thank you very much for all the support. Certainly to you, you know, the audience here with us. And of course, you thought I was going to forget the speakers, isn't it? Not at all. Alexei, look, it was very good to meet you again. We've been meeting here and there, you know, we know for some years now. Executive Director of the Brazilian Association of Power Companies. You know, very sympathetic, Mr. Constantino Frate, coordination of a fraction of enterprise in the production chain and development of public policies and configurations of the green hydrogen hub of the government of the state of Ceara. Very welcome. I welcome you here. Daniella with double L, isn't it, Daniella? Carneiro, you know, the business specialist in hydrogen and CCUS. I worked with CCUS for a while. Now I saw the CCUS at the Department of International Trade, the well-known DIT of the UK government. Really, thank you very much for being here. And thank you for doing this, being here in this webinar with us, doing this. Well, I'm going to explain a little bit the webinar dynamics. Today's webinar is being streamed live through Zoom here, which I am in, and YouTube. We will have the speakers' presentations. It could be oral or via slides, followed by a Q&A session. And in the Q&A sessions, look, the questions can only be sent through the Q&A tool of the Zoom platform. Probably, depending on the configuration at the bottom of your screen, please mind that we will not be using the chat feature. It's through Q&A. Please pay attention to that. And I will ask the audience to mention name and company before sending your question for identification purposes. I informed there will be a coordination for the questions asked. Alexei will be doing it. And since there is a time constraint, I apologize in advance for questions that may not be addressed by the speakers. Now, you know the bios, these impressive bios I'm going to read now. Mr. Alexei Vivan is a partner of Schmidt Valois Advogados, lawyers, his PhD in law from the Law School of the University of São Paulo, the famous USP, executive director of the well-known Brazilian Association of Electric Energy Companies, the ABCE, member of the advisory board of the energy research company, EPE, member of the board of directors of the Energy Industry Union of the state of São Paulo, Cindy Energia, member of the board of directors of the Electric Sector Environment Forum, FMASC, FMASE, member of the Infrastructure Council of the National Confederation of Industry. I'm going to take some breath here, Alexei. Member of Superior Council of Infrastructure and director of the Energy Division of the Department of Infrastructure of the Federation of Industries of the state of São Paulo, the Fiesp, isn't it? If I'm wrong, please correct me here. Member of the Competitiveness Council of the Government of the state of São Paulo. He was director and legal vice president of national and foreign companies of electricity. Thank you, Alexei. Mr. Constantino Frate Jr. is a mechanical engineer at the Federal University of Ceara, with specializations in equipment engineering by Petrobras/COPE, COPPE, and in quality engineer. One of the main COPPE is one of the main post-graduation centers in Brazil and in Latin America, with more than 30 years of experience in the management and in development of industrial projects, contracts, including management and operation of industrial plants. Mr. Constantino Frate Jr. He worked as implementation manager of power generation superintendence projects in the nitrogen fertilizer industries of Bahia and Sergipe states in the Northeast. He was a member of the board of directors of the Camaçari Industrial Development Committee, COFIC, at the Camaçari Petrochemical Complex in Bahia. Thank you very much, Constantino, for bringing your knowledge, you and Alexei here. And now another great portfolio of knowledge here is Mrs. Daniella Carneiro, business specialist at the UK government's Department for International Trade, DIT, for hydrogen and CCUS, carbon capture, utilization, and storage, based in London, where she leads initiatives aimed at developing the hydrogen and CCUS supply chains that will enable the delivery of the UK's net zero carbon emission objectives, as well as supporting the promotion of investment and export opportunities in the supply chain. Daniella has been in the energy sector for more than 20 years, advising multinationals, government, and SMEs, small and medium enterprise. She has extensive experience in global fossil and renewable energy markets, including Middle East, Europe, Latin America, and the USA, focused in project development, entry into new markets with emphasis on establishing sustainable partnerships. Daniella, thank you very much. Look to the audience, make the most of this webinar. You saw the amount of knowledge around the table. Please make questions. You take advantage through the Q&A tool. And now I pass on to Alexei Vivan. Alexei, the stage is yours. All the best for you. I'm quite sure you're going to enjoy it all.
Thank you, Fabio. Thank you, Constantino, Daniela, for being here. Thank you to all the participants, our audience. I would like also to thank the invitation from Britcham, Brazil, to being here. It's an honor to me, and I'm very delighted to be here to discuss about this new source of business in Brazil, the hydrogen or the green hydrogen. I am a partner of a law firm, Schmidt Valois, that has been studying hydrogen and discussing some opportunities and also some rules related to that, taking a look on some initial investments in hydrogen in Brazil. And that's the reason why I thought to be very important to be here to moderate this webinar and also learn with Mr. Constantino, Ms. Daniela, and also through the questions raised here in the Q&A, we can also learn and go deep in this important source of, as I said, new business. And it's also important to hear and to listen a little how UK and UK community can help Brazil developing this business, as they are far away from us in hydrogen. Hydrogen in Brazil is still in the very beginning, as I mentioned, and as all of you know, hydrogen is the most abundant element on Earth, and 95% of all hydrogen produced comes from the natural gas, the reaction between steam and hydrocarbon. And one of the issues that we have been facing regarding hydrogen, and I apologize, but my knowledge and my expertise are in the electric power sector, where I have been and working for the last 21 years. So I'm addicted to that, and everything that is related to electric power gets my attention. And regarding the hydrogen, the electric power has a main importance, because the conversion of the hydrogen from gas to fuel requires a huge volume of energy. And I believe that our speakers here will talk about the blue, the brown, gray, and the green energy that is the main reason for our discussion here due to its zero carbon emission. I would also challenge here our speakers, because I would like to hear their experience and their expertise, and eventually what UK have been doing regarding these several uses for the hydrogen, because you have use for fuel, for medical care, heat, power generation, electric power storage, and even for power transmission. And everybody knows that hydrogen will be a commodity. And Brazil is very well positioned due to its majority clean energy matrix. And as the energy, the power need for the production of hydrogen is it's the most important phase or the most important challenge due to the cost of generating this electric power energy. We have been seeing some investments, some very new investments here in Brazil, mainly in state of Ceara, where the power plants are being built to be 100% dedicated to generate energy to produce the hydrogen. But there are lots of challenges that need to be addressed, and maybe the UK can contribute to how to solve those challenges that relate to production price because of the huge volume of energy needed for the production, the cost of the green hydrogen that is 2 times or 3 times more expensive than the blue hydrogen that is the one that comes from the natural gas, the competition of hydrogen, the competition of the energy sources to produce hydrogen and to be used as electric power to equipments and to industry. The challenge of storage. If you can storage as gas, but it's dangerous, highly flammable. You can storage as liquid, but it's more expensive because of pressure needed. We also have some challenge regarding transportation of this hydrogen produced. We have been using tanks on vehicles, but we need more pipeline, more ducts to make this transportation. And to end my introduction here, the rules. We still need rules in Brazil for this new source of business and this new source of energy and clean energy. So this is some of those are some of the questions and the items that I believe we'll be discussing here, and would be very good to hear from experts as Mr. Constantino and Ms. Daniela regarding those challenges and this new commodity and the position that Brazil will be in the near future regarding the hydrogen. Thank you very much, and I pass to you, Mr. Constantino.
Thank you very much, Alexei. It's a pleasure for me being participant of this event that I consider very important for the consolidation of this Brazilian project, not only a Brazilian project, but a project that will affect and benefit worldwide, okay? So I would like to share a presentation here, but first I would like to say that really nowadays is a big interest of worldwide investors in Ceará state opportunities to produce not only renewable energy, but green hydrogen. In this interest is not only related to the significant generation potential of renewable energies like photovoltaic, wind, offshore wind, etc., but to a work that we are developing here in the Ceará Strait during more than 35 years. That has been consolidating the infrastructure and fiscal health of the state. Of course, the business environment that exists here provide, in addition to those points that I have mentioned before, we have here a port infrastructure and competitive port taxes that is attracting a lot this interest I have mentioned, okay? So I will share with you my presentation. I hope that everyone is seeing the presentation, okay? Here, I would like to present the status of our project here in Ceará State. I will try to do it in 15 minutes, okay? The question here, Alexei, I have a problem here. I'm not. You are seeing the first slide yet? Let's try to.
We see the first one.
The first one, I have a problem to pass the another one, okay, here. Okay, yes. The second, okay.
Yes.
Here are some highlights about the decarbonization of the economy. I think that is not good me standing this slide, but Ceará State has signed all the agreements before the COP26 in Glasgow this year, okay? So the Ceará State now is absolutely fulfill all the requirements that are being discussed, not only in Paris and in COP26, okay? The second one is that Ceará is in the Brazilian Northeast region, and we are here at green, the center, gravity center of renewable energy, okay? And we can observe here that this region of Brazil concentrate 80% of the total solar installed in wind power here in Northeast region, okay? And Ceará location combined a solar when wind power potential generation that is incredible. I will try to demonstrate it for you. Here is the Brazilian potential that we have in the country. We can see here that the wind potential in Brazil is about 880 gigawatts, okay? And at the right side, we can see that Ceará State, when we consider the wind capacity factor, is above all, even the Brazilian average and even Northeast region average. The combination of wind here in Ceará coast, okay, can generate for us an average capacity factor about 62%. But if you can consult our wind and solar atlas, you can, depending on the location you choose, you can have capacity factors when considering wind offshore generation superior to 7%. Is a very high potential or capacity factor, even in comparison of those that already exist in Europe, okay? Here is a focus only in Ceará State, where I can see in the right side the hybrid potential choose between onshore and offshore wind capacity. We have here 137 gigawatts of high capacity factor, about 7% of offshore wind power generation. The solar generation potential, the total amount of Ceará state is about 643 gigawatts, okay? It's a huge potential. Here is a very good combination between solar and wind power generation, because you can see from this picture here that when the wind is low, the sun is high, okay? The sun generation, the solar generation is high. And this is a perfect combination to provide a high efficiency in the electrolysis process, okay? Some characteristics of a PECEM port complex here in Ceará state. We have a port, a modern port here with low taxes, with a free trade zone, the only one in operation in Brazil, in an industrial and solid retroport area where we have some companies already installed. The PECEM corporate structure put together the port of Rotterdam of 30%, and Ceará state with 7%. And here is our goal, okay? Become the main industrial port and logistic hub in Brazil by this time, okay? Generating add value for customer with a focus on innovation, sustainability, and operational efficiency. This is a photo, a photography for the PECEM port as a natural, a real photo, okay? Here is some clusters already installed in PECEM. The energy cluster with 2 coal-fired power plants of 720 megawatts and 365 megawatts, okay? These 2 coal-fired, they are planning to substitute the coal for the hydrogen in a future that they are studying. Another 2 power plants from Petrobras and Enel, 2 wind turbine factories here in complex of PECEM, an integrated steel mill that already consumes about 100,000 of cubic meters for natural gas per day, that is planning to substitute the natural gas. Of course, this depends on a study that is in development now, okay? 2 cement factories, etc., and logistics services here in PECEM. Here are some issues related to free trade zone of Ceará state. This is the first export processing zone in operation in Brazil, operating since 2013. We have here 6,000 hectares of area available for investors, located only 6 kilometers to the port of PECEM, in the same area, okay? And fiscal incentives as well, exchange rate and administrative advantage that can reduce the OPEX and the CAPEX from 35 to 40%. Here is a simulation of the tax incentives in its reduction costs. It's a simulation we can here see from this slide. 2 simulations. The first one related to permanent assets, where we can see the total cost about $1,900 million. And when the incentives are being applied, we can have a reduction of costs about 41%. In the right side, 35% lower costs with the ZPE benefits, okay? Here is our arrangement here in Pecém Port. We are developing all the value chain here in Pecém Port. And the green hydrogen covers not only renewable energy, generation, hydrogen production, storage, distribution, and consumption, but includes also fuels like kerosene, aviation kerosene, diesel, etc. Fertilizers and equipment. We are now attracting companies from all this value chain here in Pecém. This is the infrastructure that we have here. We are connected to the grids with substations and other facilities. When we have here an advantage that is this partnership of Rotterdam, that without doubt will be the nearest green hydrogen export-import route between South America and Europe. Rotterdam hub, I think that is not necessary to talk about it, but Rotterdam is now developing an infrastructure to be the Northeast Europe's energy port, with all the infrastructure to import and export and distribute inside the Europe, okay, the green hydrogen. Here is a slide that shows, that slide was composed by Bloomberg, and the slide present Brazil like the whale ship hydrogen at 2050, okay? Here really we have good conditions to produce and to export hydrogen. Some highlights about the green hydrogen in Pecém hub. We have a high renewable energy potential, a strategic location here, tax incentive, like I have said before, the infrastructure even in a very good state, being planned in terms of ampliation, and all this investment by the agreement of the partners, all the investment will be developed and implemented by the Port of Rotterdam. So we here in Ceará, we really do not depend on public investments to adequate the infrastructure to import and to export green hydrogen. Besides all this, the state government established a working group that put together the Ceará state government, the Federation of Industry here, all the university here represented by the Federal University of Ceará, and the complex of Pecém. Each entity undertakes to direct its potential to achieve the objective, okay? So we are developing here new public policies and configuration the hydrogen hub, even with the collaboration of the Port of Rotterdam, of the GIZ, that is the German Agency for Collaboration. The German Agency for Collaboration is developing with us all the new public policies, and is configuration with us the hydrogen hub in terms of infrastructure, technologies, etc. Only to show you, I have here some companies that have already signed MOUs with Ceará states. EGP, Energy from Portugal, White Martins Ling, a German company, Fortescue, an Australian company, Engie, Care, Casa dos Ventos, that is one of the biggest wind and solar power production, Energix, Australian, Transhydrogen Alliance, AES Brazil, and Eren of Brazil. Okay, these are some companies. We have others that are not so big like this that I show you now. Okay. Okay, here I would like to point some issues that I think that the OK contribution will be great. The first one, with its expertise related to green hydrogen certification system, because it's very important for us to know the exact definition of the buyer's expectations, of the off-taker's expectations, as well as futures auctions that certainly will be held by the European community with UK. The another point, the another one, I think that share UK experience an available resource for the development implementation of offshore wind farms. Really, the potential of Ceará to produce, to generate wind energy is so high that you can have even capacity factors about 70%, okay? When only has approved by the federal government the regulation of this type of generation, Ceará State have now 16 gigawatts of project yet presented to IBAMA approval, okay? Another point is sharing your regulatory framework, because like Alexei said, we are at the beginning. And something that I would like to say is presenting the investment funds available for the implementation of project in the state of Ceará. During the COP, the Ceará State presented to His Royal Highness Prince Charles all the project related to energetic transition. So we think that this will be a good opportunity to share with you and to have the OK contribution, okay? Thank you very much. That's all my presentation.
Thank you, Constantino. It was very good to hear from you and all the capabilities of the state of Ceará, how the state of Ceará is prepared to receive investments and how they are making incentives for that. I believe that we have seen some great companies as AES, EDP. There are traditional electric power companies in Brazil and big companies that invest in generation, that invests in distribution and transmission of energy, and they are focusing now on this new opportunity of the hydrogen, the green hydrogen, and they are facing, and they have some agreements, MOUs executed with the state of Ceará, and to foresee how they can produce the green energy there. And before asking Daniella to give their presentation and show their knowledge on this business of the green energy, I would like to point out that we have two questions here. One from Carlos Peixoto. head of ONG committee at Britcham. And I will read the question. He says, he wrote, to be able to produce the huge quantities of green hydrogen that we expected in Brazil, the availability of enough transmission lines might be a challenge. May the speakers offer us a few comments on that issue, please. Carlos, I think I'd be able to answer that, but I would defer to Daniella to first make her presentation, then we can come back and go to your question. And there is another one, very, very interesting question raised by Charles Ryan. And that is a great challenge in the hydrogen business. I will read the question. He wrote, my interest in this seminar was sparked by my understanding that hydrogen energy was still in an experimental stage. There has been no explanation of how to use hydrogen, and more important, why use natural gas and electric energy, which are an energy sources in their own right, to generate another energy source. This is a very clever question, but also before answering it, I will defer to Daniella, and then we come back to those good questions. Thank you very much. So, Daniella, you have the word.
Thank you very much, Alexei. I'm looking forward to the Q&A. If that's a taste for the what is to come, I think we're going to have a very interesting and lively conversation and debate. As well as looking forward to addressing some of the challenges that Constantino raised, as well as some of those that you raised, particularly in terms of the use of hydrogen. Let me see if I can start by successfully sharing my screen. Okay. So is my screen being shared? Excellent, thank you very much. So hello everyone, delighted to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation to the Britcham, Fabio, as well as Peixoto. I'm delighted to be discussing this very important topic. I think it's something that everybody's talking about is hydrogen at the moment. And as one of the I guess somebody in the attendance asked, why are we doing it? And there are a couple of reasons for that. I wanted to talk today about something that is very dear to me, which is opportunities for cooperation between UK and Brazil. I am a Brazilian transplant in the UK. I've been in the UK for over 20 years now, but I'm Brazilian by birth. So it's wonderful to have the opportunity to work with my country of origin as well as my country of adoption here. I am part of the Department for International Trade, which is the UK government department that works supporting UK companies do business overseas, and also helping overseas companies that are looking to invest in the UK or that are looking for partnerships in the UK, and so on. A bit similar to ABCE, Brazil in some respects. I wanted to also mention that we have a team. The DIT has an energy team that sits in Brazil, led by Renato Cordeiro, who is also in I believe, the Power Renewables Committee in the Britcham, and their contacts will be available at the end. So if I can try to, oops, yeah. So what three things I want to kind of talk about today. First is just talk a little bit about the journey that the UK is going through, has gone through, where we are so far in developing a hydrogen market. Then in terms of what the results have been so far, and we expect much more. And then finally delve into cooperation opportunities for our two countries. I think there are some areas where I think it's fertile ground for working together. So developing a hydrogen market. So I think that one thing to note is that the UK has been working on and taking action on climate change for quite a while. So there's a history of working on reduction of CO2 emissions that goes back to the 1980s. And since 2010, we have nearly 120 billion pounds invested in the UK in the climate change sort of CO2 reduction initiatives. Of course, in 2019, we announced our target to become a net zero economy by 2050. And we have most recently issued a 10-point plan, which is kind of a bit more granularity to that ambition. How are we going to achieve that? The main thing that always strikes me, my background, you know, being in sort of energy holistically in the past few years, I've worked quite a lot of oil and gas as well as renewables, and then going into hydrogen, is it's really worthwhile highlighting that whilst the UK has grown its economy by over 70% since 1990, it has reduced carbon emissions by 40%. So it's good business. And I'm a firm believer that we should do things for the right reasons. And it's great when we can see that there is an economic benefit as well as a sort of a sustainability and environmental benefit that is coming together. This all has been enabled really by a very positive environment that we have in the UK through a combination of, as I mentioned, net zero government leadership, so a very long history of action on climate change, but also very supportive policies that really seek to leverage world-leading research. We're very strong on research and development innovation here in the UK, which boosts the capability that we already have in the energy industry, not just in project development and consultancy, but also in the supply chain, which, you know, together with a very strong investment landscape, so we have access to very strong financial markets, really creates an excellent environment in which to thrive. We also published last year the first UK hydrogen strategy. I think that the main thing about the UK hydrogen strategy, which is different from a few other countries, is that we are betting on two colors of hydrogen. We're betting on both blue and green. So we're looking at a twin track approach. That means that we're looking at the production of green hydrogen through renewable sources, but we're also looking at the production of blue hydrogen through steam methane reformation with the usage of carbon capture and storage. The UK, like Brazil, is a very rich geology in terms of having been a very strong oil and gas producer over the last decades, having a lot of expertise. Brazil also has been blessed with those natural resources. There's just like in the UK and Brazil, there are also a number of assets that are coming to the end of their life. These assets are ripe for decommissioning, and it's really good to see that we can now take what would be otherwise stranded assets, which would be decommissioned and no longer utilized ever as basically a cost center. We're turning it into something positive, where we can essentially produce hydrogen through use of natural gas, but take away the CO2 that is associated with that production and bury it in the ground. I haven't heard much about the use of a blue hydrogen in Brazil. I think that is perhaps still early days, but I do wonder if at some point that is going to become topical as well, particularly when you think about major industrial areas that might be close to depleting oil and gas fields that might suit themselves to carbon storage. And like I said, this is just a little bit more about the positive policy environment that we have. As I said, it's been going for some time. Specifically in hydrogen, we've been more active in the last 4 or 5 years, starting with a low carbon hydrogen supply competition, which has developed, and it's currently we have 2 industrial clusters that are looking to decarbonize, which are basically major industrial complexes that are looking to remove the CO2 from their operations, looking towards net zero status, and both through the use of blue hydrogen or just carbon sequestration originally, but also in future using green hydrogen for that. It was great to hear from Constantino the mention of the partnership between the state of Ceara and industry overall, industry, academia, because I think that dialogue is very important. Hydrogen is, well, as a product, it has existed for decades. It's been used in refineries and in chemical processes and so on and so forth in the fertilizer industry. It's a known quantity. What is not a known quantity is the scale and the uses that we are planning for hydrogen right now. These are the things that we are developing. And I believe that to develop this properly, you need to have a very strong dialogue between policymakers, regulatory entities, as well as industry, as well as academia and think tanks, really, so that you can benefit from expertise in all sections of society. In the UK, we have something like that through the Hydrogen Advisory Council, which essentially brings together, government and industry to identify what can we do, what should we do, and that includes areas that we'll be touching on. And like I said, clean energy is good business. And we can see that in the growth of the hydrogen sector, the ambitions that we have. Our stated ambition, for example, is to produce 5 gigawatts of low carbon hydrogen by 2030. However, in the pipeline that we have identified through DIT, we have seen, and this is data that's probably about 6 months old, nearly 20 gigawatts of projects planned. So there's a lot more interest and action in the market even that leads us to believe that our targets may very well be highly exceeded. And then what is that doing? So this combination of a supportive environment with supportive policies, with a strong focus on research and development. I think it's leading to a very dynamic ecosystem across the whole of the value chain. We talked a little bit about various points, which are hopefully on your screen right now in previous talks and presentations. But essentially, the UK is working across the board, across the hydrogen value chain, and is really developing in-depth capability on blue hydrogen through steam reform, through steam reformation and carbon capture. Green hydrogen, we have got a couple, we have strong electrolyzer manufacturing capability. We have IT and Power that's based in Sheffield. We also have Clean Power Hydrogen, CPH2, which is also based in Sheffield and in fact just listed on the London Stock Exchange Alternative Market last week. We are looking very much at the issue of storage, both subsurface as well as surface storage, looking at what types of geological constructs might be applicable for hydrogen storage and so on, but also looking very much at the distribution side of it. So there are studies looking at pipeline transportation, what are the differences in terms of metals, in terms of pressure, in terms of components, in terms of what materials are going to be used in the pipeline that transports hydrogen. There are issues such as hydrogen embrittlement, so what sort of coating and so on and so forth, as well as freight transport. And another important point, I think, is the one of refueling stations. In the UK, we are starting to look at hydrogen for mobility. I think a lot of people may have seen hydrogen buses already in London, in central London, as well as in Aberdeen. There are various studies in the country, including in the Tees Valley. There is a Tees Valley Transport Hub that is looking at the usage of hydrogen in various modes of transport, so vehicles, buses, public transport, but also trains, etc. And its application, so for fuel cell transport, as a fuel substitute for cars, for heat and power generation, for industrial feedstock to our refineries. I think hydrogen and CCUS are going to really play a very strong role in particularly hard to abate industries like cement and steel, which I believe Constantino also mentioned are in the port of Pecém. So across the board, this combination is creating a rich and very fertile ground for further development and consolidation. And what I wanted to show is just going through each of these. So we highlighted, and it's available. This presentation can be shared, and of course it's being recorded. But it just shows we pulled a few UK companies that have got proven capability and that are developing the market in their particular niches. And these are companies that hopefully will be, if you will, evangelizing the rest of the world, and through partnerships and dialogue and joint projects, they'll be able to share their capability with other companies globally looking at developing a hydrogen supply chain. So got very strong capability in blue hydrogen, as well as in green hydrogen. Developers, consultancies. I think the UK has got very strong capability on project development, on early engineering, on master planning. So if you're looking into, for example, developing a hydrogen hub such as Pecém or other hydrogen hubs elsewhere, there's plenty of expertise. When you're looking at storage, we've got expertise in storage solutions, looking at integration, consultancies as well. Distribution, as we said, pipeline, freight transport, refueling stations. So we have companies like ITM Motive, Octopus Hydrogen, downstream capabilities. Again, that goes back to, I think, your question, Alexei, that you raised earlier, onto what are some of the uses, what are some of the applications. So we see a lot of potential applications in heat power generation, road, rail transport, aviation, fuel cells, etc. And then, I think that this is kind of the bedrock for where cooperation capabilities exist. And I think that they are basically, I would highlight kind of three key areas, open to the challenges that I'm sure that Constantino will go back to them. But I think that one of the areas is on research, development, and innovation. I have a colleague who is not Brazilian, but has been working with Brazil for a very long time. And he always said that when we go to Brazil, we need to tropicalize the offer. And I think that what that means is that when you take something from A to B, you need to be mindful that the environment, the infrastructure, everything is going to be that little bit different. And I have used this concept of tropicalizing the offer all the way out to the Middle East and the places like Saudi Arabia and so on, because I think that ultimately it goes to everywhere. So what works for the UK is a basis. It doesn't mean that it's exactly what works for Brazil. You need to make sure that things are adapted and in line with the reality of the Brazilian of the Brazilian environment. And it can be very technical things. It can be regulatory things. It can be policy things. But it's basically about being adapted. Another area is project development, because like I said, I think the UK has got particular expertise in bringing this concept from a seed into actually a real concept, into a real project. And we have seen, it was also offshore wind was mentioned. I think the UK is the largest offshore wind capacity in Europe. We have another 30 gigawatts that are planned for installation between now and 2030 to come online by 2030. So we have a lot of project development expertise in these areas, and some really strong companies, such as some of those that were mentioned there, such as for example Wood, Arup, and various others. And finally, supply chain capability. So I've been working with the DIT and the Brazilian market for quite a number of years in the energy sector. What we see is, again, you can very seldom simply export an offer, because things need to be adapted to the local reality. And where you make the best inroads in any markets, not just Brazil, is where you can build really strong sustainable partnerships within the supply chain. So supply chain companies in the UK that are seeing the opportunity in the Brazilian market, that want to capture some of that opportunity in the Brazilian market, and Brazilian supply chain companies that equally see the opportunity. They perhaps don't quite yet have the expertise. They want to learn a little bit about how other people are doing it elsewhere. And once there is a convergence of interests, of an alignment of philosophy and objectives, you can have some really powerful exchange of experiences, exchange of knowledge, be it technical knowledge, be it market knowledge, through these sort of very hands-on partnerships within the supply chain. So those are the key areas that I highlighted. And I highlighted them principally because these are areas that are sort of more within the scope of what DIT does. I very much heard Constantino when he mentioned the opportunity to talk about, to share lessons in the regulatory aspects and so on. I know that our team, our embassy in Brazil, has had a working group with the Brazilian Energy Ministry for the development of wind, for sharing lessons in wind for a long time, and hopefully that has helped in the recently approved milestone framework. I hope that that sort of cooperation can continue going forward. And I'm sure that my colleagues at the embassy would love to hear from you, Constantino, in that respect. So this is what I had for today. Thank you very much for your time. Some of our DIT team contacts are on the screen. Feel free to reach out to me or to any of them if you'd like to know more about any of those companies, get in contact with any of them, or any further questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniela. Very good presentation. I think it was very clear to better understand what the IT energy team makes and how you could help Brazil and the states of Brazil in hydrogen business development. Going back to those questions, I would like, if you allow me, I would like to pass through 3 of them, and then I will leave one or two for Constantino and Daniela, also to complete my answer and to correct me if I'm wrong. But regarding Mr. Carlos Peixoto question on the transmission line, I can say that Brazil has a very strong transmission infrastructure. So I don't see any problems with the transmission. Of course, sometimes when we heard something regarding problems in a specific region or in a specific area on the transportation of electric power, we are facing a peak of consumption. But if you look the electric sector and the transmission line as a whole, we are in a very good equilibrium and with some possibilities to even increase the generation and this transportation of electric power. And besides that, Brazil has been, and specifically the federal agency has been promoting public bids for new lines, transmission lines constructions, foreseeing the increase of the energy consumption. So I don't see any problems regarding the transmission line. And more than that, we need to remember that the main way to transport the hydrogen it's not via the grid, the electric grid, but still we are talking about tanks. We are talking about in the future the pipelines, and that raises also a question on who should be the federal agency to rule the hydrogen, the green hydrogen or the hydrogen production. Once it is a gas, but it's also used for power means. So you have the energy, electric power, the energy agency, and you also have this is the ANEL, the Power Electric Federal Agency, but you also have the ANP, that is the National Petroleum, Gas and Biofuels Agency. So this is a discussion that we have been raising in Brazil about which should be the one to rule the hydrogen and its business and the business related to it. So answering the question, I don't see any constraints in the transmission line regarding the hydrogen or even the increase in this business. There is also a question raised by Luis Guilherme Primos, that is the head of the Britcham Legal Committee in São Paulo, where he says, he writes, taking a ride on Peixoto's question, would self-generation consumption, geração distribuída or distributed energy be of some help? For this specific answer, we need to separate the self generation and the geração distribuída or the distributed energy, distributed generation. We have the self-generation and self-consumption in Brazil. That is a specific business with reduction of some of the price of the energy and some of the items that are collected in the energy, some tariffs. So for the self-generation and self-consumption, you can eventually use it and part of it for the hydrogen production. But we also have a business that has been growing a lot in Brazil, that is the geração distribuída, but those are considered the generation up to 5 megawatts. And those are small generation for houses, for self-consumptions, that is not directed to industrial production. So those amounts of energy generated by this distributed generation is too small, so I don't think it would fit for hydrogen production. I will make all the answer, and then I will ask Constantino and Daniella to add. There is one here that is related to the there's a new one. There is a project to use the hydrogen from Larissa Guimarães. There is a project to use the hydrogen produced as a fuel, such as start to build fuel cells in Brazil, for example. Constantino and Daniela may answer better. I don't know any of project like this one, but this is one of the possible use for the hydrogen. Is being used as cell fuels, and maybe Daniela has some examples to give. And I'm going through all those questions because we are about to finish our webinar. So I would like to give my comments, and then Constantino and Daniela can also do that. There is another question of Larissa Guimarães, a student at University of Lisbon and member of Technical Solar Boat Hydrogen Area. There is a project to use the hydrogen. No, it's the same question. No, it's not. It's about the last question. There is a project to use the hydrogen produced as a fuel, so the service cells in Brazil, for example. I think we have answered that. And then we go back to the question raised by Charles Ryan that I thought it was a very clever one, not that the only other ones are not clever, but this is one of the main discussion that we have been made in hydrogen. That is the fact that the hydrogen is used for several you have multiple uses for the hydrogen, as Daniela mentioned. You have, for instance, fuel for rockets and jets. If you see NASA use hydrogen a lot. Fuel cells, chemical products production as ammonia, chemical process, for example, fat and oil hydrogenation, for welding, for fertilizers. So there is multiple ways of making money with the hydrogen. So besides the zero carbon market and the sequestration, the carbon sequestration, I think there are good economics that may justify the investment in the hydrogen and using clean energy as photovoltaic and wind energy generation to produce the hydrogen. Of course, we still have a price problem. If you see the experts, and maybe Constantino and Daniela can say better than me, but they say that the hydrogen would be competitive when he reached the $3 or $4 per kilo, and currently it is between $6 and $9 per kilo, as far as I have read here. And the last one I can't answer. Maybe you, Daniela, and Constantino can. Richard Taylor, he raised the following question. He's from TEC Ventures. Thanks for the great presentations. Beyond the 16 gigawatts of new wind projects, what is the scale of additional solar energy required in Ceará? And with what range of energy price per megawatt hour to make the green hydrogen technologies economic and with the best in world hydrogen price at 55 C per kilogram? This is an answer to Constantino because it's related to the state of Ceara. And I would end my comments here and would defer to Constantino and then Daniela.
Okay, related to the Richard Taylor question, I can tell you, Richard, that we are projecting for 2031 about 16 gigawatts of offshore wind generation, okay? From projects already submitted to IBAMA. and about 18 gigawatts of photovoltaic generation, not only for the green hydrogen, but for all the demands, even those that are not generating Ceará states, okay? About your question related to the cost of energy, of course, we have today about 30 US dollar per megawatt hour, okay? But considering the technology, the amount of projects that are being approved, of course, the scaling up of this market, we are planning to have about $20 per megawatt hour, okay? Of course, this 55 cents that I have mentioned is from a study made by Bloomberg, okay? Is only an estimated value. Of course, we cannot confirm what this price will be decreasing in the next decade, okay? But we are sure that the price will be reduced about 30%, 1/3 of the actual, the present price, okay, Richard? I think that, I don't know if I gave you all the answer you need, okay? But this is the answer.
Thank you, Constantino. Daniela, would like to add something?
Yeah, I just wanted to address quickly 2 of the questions. Thank you, Alexei. I think that there was one question which was essentially why to use hydrogen, use natural gas, for example, to create another form of energy. And I think that we need to be conscious that the driver behind hydrogen usage is decarbonization. It's not a commercial driver, it's a climate driver. I think we all know, and we are all very aware, that the cost of that technology today is much higher than the competing technologies that it's displaced or it's looking to displace, which is why, like I mentioned, having a supportive policy environment like we have in the UK has been fundamental in developing that ecosystem. In time, I think that with the advances of technology, hydrogen will be, competitive in its own right, in addition to the climate imperative. But that will take some time. But I think that there is another point where hydrogen is very useful. One of the challenges that I guess the energy system has been struggling with for decades is that of storage. And the hydrogen is a very convenient means of storage. We can't store electricity. How can we store the power? And hydrogen is a vector. So basically, we can either store it as a gas under the ground, as a liquid in bulk storage. We can also store it as ammonia, which is another form that has been very widely discussed. Now, of course, to get to that point, we will need to have hydrogen transmission systems in place. And I agree, Brazil has got a fantastic transmission system in place, has got a very rich pipeline network, other countries as well. Perhaps it makes life easier because you already have pipelines right away. Perhaps you can put, an ancillary pipe next to it, or you can repurpose existing pipes and so on. And that's where a lot of the research has been going on. Here in the UK, in places like the Weldon Institute, for example, that has been looking into hydrogen embrittlement of pipelines, because we are seeing all these issues coming ahead. The other one I wanted to make a quick comment is on distributed generation. I actually happen to think that hydrogen lends itself very well for distributed generation, because if you have a relatively small renewable solar, particularly solar, generation, solar panels and so on, you can, with a relatively small electrolyzer, you can produce in such a scale that you can have, for example, refueling stations that might service a remote location, or that in a slightly larger scale might service, for example, a transport hub for major, I don't know, delivery companies, logistics companies, and so on. So although at the moment hydrogen is a big numbers game, because we need to start with the economies of scale, and we're certainly looking at hard to abate industries that are going to have higher consumption of hydrogen. I think that there is a future for distributed generation when it comes to hydrogen as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniela. Well, I think we passed by all the question, and eventually the Britcham can, get those questions. I know Fabio Caldas can say better, and then we can go through that and give a better answer, or more complete answer in deep. But I think that we have, in general, passed by this market. I think Constantino and Daniela has shared with us a lot of information and knowledge in hydrogen. It is still a market to be developed. It is still a technology to be developed. But this multiple use, and even if the economics now is not very good because of the competitiveness of the other source of energy, and as a good question that one of the participants made here, just to mention the name, I don't know if I still have here to give the credit. Oh, I don't have it. I think it was someone Taylor, but
it's Richard Taylor.
Richard Taylor.
He's a good friend. He's a good friend.
Oh, that's good. But I think that as it happened with the wind business in Brazil, that in the very beginning was not competitive. If you remember, 10 years ago, it was very expensive and not competitive. And now it is one of the less expensive source in Brazil, due exactly to what Daniela said, that is the evolution in the technologies, in the technology of the wind generation, turbines, and the poles itself. So I think that we are in the right path. And even though the environment, the zero carbon, the sustainability is the main reason for the green hydrogen, we can't forget that in the near future, it needs to be sustainable as a business. And I think that everyone that is looking to it is foreseeing a very good future, not only for its main reason, that is to, the carbon sequestration, but also it is a very good way of making money in the future. We will develop it, and we need to scale to escalate it. So I think that the idea of the government itself, the state governments in Brazil, the UK government, and other entities invest on it in the beginning, as it is not competitive, is not yet competitive, is the good way to develop a business that will certainly in the future is a good investment, a good business for the one that is start now. So that are what I really believe regarding the hydrogen, or the green hydrogen business. I would also I would like to also thanks again the Britcham Brazil, Fabio Caldas, Constantino, Daniela, and Fabio. I don't know if we should make the final words. I have made mine, or maybe I would defer to Constantino and Daniela, and then the word is yours.
Thank you. Constantino, Daniela, maybe you, if you wish just to say something in the final messaging, and then I'll close it. Thank you, Alexei.
Okay,
I'll just say thank you very much. Oh, sorry.
Ladies first, sorry, this was very rude. It was my fault. Ladies first, of course. Yeah.
Please, Constantino, C
No.
comes before D.
I only want to thank the Britcham and all of you to this opportunity to present to UK and for you the Ceará state opportunity. Okay, I know that we are developing here a very serious work, providing not only public policies that will stimulate the growth of the demand, but providing infrastructure, port infrastructure, incentives, taxes, and even stimulate not only the export, like the internal use here in Ceará State. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Daniella Carneiro, Dani, it's you.
Muito obrigada, Fabio. Well, I just wanted to say thank you again for the opportunity to present. It's great to be in this forum. I think that Brazil is going through a fantastic journey, and there is plenty of scope for Brazil and UK to cooperate. And I look forward to continue to support that. Feel free, everyone, to contact my colleagues or myself in DIT if you have any questions, if you want to hear more about the UK capability in the area.
Thank you, Dani. I'm closing with a few last words here. Thank you very much indeed, Alexei, for your moderation, right? To Constantino for your comments as well, Alexei, and contextualizing, answering some questions, Constantino and Dani. Carioca, I'm Carioca, I was born in Carioca, just reduce everything. So it's Dani, it should be Const and Alex. But really, the presentations were brilliant, very clear, to the point, how the UK could contribute, what Brazil is needing, what Ceará is needing. Really, really superb. We thank you all, the support teams and the audience, for your presence here in our webinar. We hope that it was useful and enlightening to everyone. Britcham's upcoming events are available on the site www.britcham.com.br. I invite everyone to subscribe to Britcham's YouTube channel and share forward the link on the recording of this webinar, which will be available to those who have not been able to follow live. Let's all have a great 2022. It's going to be Carnival next week in Rio, so we're going to have some rest. They're going to have some fun, not in the streets, not in the parade. I wish you all much energy in this year, right? All the best for you. Stay well, stay healthy, internally and externally, you and yours. Thank you very much indeed. I wish you all the best in your endeavors this year. Take care of yourselves.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Guys, it was great. Thank you so much.
Obrigada a você, Fábio.
De nada. Agora vamos falar um pouquinho em português, ó. Isso é